Good afternoon. I am Tim Carter. This is Ask the Builder, streaming live. It's great that you're here. And got it's going to be a short live stream. I want to let you know right away. I've got to get out of here. I'm going to sign off at 4:25, and I have to be someplace at 5 o'clock. So it's going to take me a while to get there. That's the problem here in New Hampshire, where I live. You can't I mean, the shortest distance I can travel to get anywhere, to buy anything. I'm serious, to buy a flipping candy bar. The shortest distance, shortest time would be, I don't know, 18 minutes. Isn't that crazy? All right, here we go. So here we go. 8-bit vinyl. We're going to talk about tape measures in just a second. You're feeling about the tape measure that have the big stud hooks on the ends. Milwaukee made one a few years ago, but now discontinued. I don't know why. Yeah, I've got so many. I've got a giant tool case, the type that auto mechanics use, down in my garage, and one of the really big drawers. It's just completely filled with tape measures, all different types. Some of them are. One of them is one of them that's probably 30 years old that I used when I was building. But I've got a lot of tape measures. So let's talk about tape measures right now. So today's live stream, just so you know, is brought to you by this really interesting company. They've been around a while, eTAPE. This is not necessarily a new tape measure, but they just reached out to me, and I want to show you a couple of them. They got a little bit different displays. It's the same company, but there's different models. But I want to tell you a story about this. So here's, just so you get excited about it. So here's the tape measure. You think, okay, Tim, big deal. Yeah. Here's the tape, big deal, blah, blah, blah. Well, watch what happens. I know that lit up. So when you pull this out, it turns on and there's a display. And I know it can be kind of hard to read, but I probably got it upside down. But it's reading the exact distance that the tape is pulled out. And what's interesting about this, it's really funny. I've been building for so long that I just assume that everyone knows how to read a tape measure. And that's not the case. In fact, when we were building, a buddy of mine that was a fellow carpenter, we used to play a game where we would take the fractions and make them bigger and bigger. In other words, if you had to cut a piece of lumber 4 1/8 inches long, he'd be up on a ladder and say, I need something that's 4 8/64. So you'd have to do that math, because it was just, we had a lot of fun with it. Or he'd say, I need a 4 and 16 128ths, things like that. Just 4 and 32 256. I mean, crazy. That's the kind of fun we would have. Well, we could do it, but most people, they look at those little the little lines on the tape measures and they freak out. Well, guess what? This, you don't have to worry about it anymore. This does it for you. I mean, look, let me get it out here. This one, I think, has a little bit clear, because it's not blue. So look at that. So, 4 and 9/16. I mean, it tells you. All right. And here's what's cool. So it has all types of memory. So I can memorize that. I can push this button right here and memorize that dimension if I have to. It's got 2 memories. One of the really cool things about this tape measure, sometimes, it's not all that often, but you have to divide that in 2. You would go, for whatever reason, because you want to split a piece of plywood or whatever. So remember, it's reading 4 and 9/16 right now. So if I push this button right here, watch what happens. If I push and hold it, let me see here. There we go. So it does the math. And so what it is, it split it in half, 2 1/4. So very interesting tape measure. It's really interesting. And here's the true story. When I got these tape measures about 2 weeks ago, the company reached out to me maybe 3 weeks ago, asked me if I'd be interested. I said, sure, send a couple of them along. Let me look at them. They arrive, I get them out, and you have to know this. This is really important because, I had to tell, when I started this live stream today, I had to check a box that this is a paid live stream. But here's what you need to know. I truly respect the trust that you place in me. And I only recommend tools and products that I would use in my own home. All right. So that you need to know that right up front. And believe me, I get lots of tools and things that I would never tell you about. It just, they're so bad. Anyway, I get these tape measures. I open up the box. I look at this one first. I look at this one. This is called the eTAPE16 Max. eTAPE16 Max. And I immediately see that display and I go, oh, this is going to be cool. And I immediately, I do this, So I take the tape. I just want to, so you can see it. I take the tape and I pull it out and I see that right away. And, and I'm just pulling it out, and it's changing just like it's doing for you right now. And I went, this is way too cool. And the thought that went through my head, this is really important, is not so much the cool factor. And I didn't even look at all the memory functions and all the other things you could do, is what I thought right away was, oh my gosh, this is going to be so helpful for so many homeowners who do not know how to read a tape. They just freeze up. They didn't do well in math for whatever reason. That's okay. They didn't know fractions, and so they get frustrated. They don't want to use a tape measure because they don't understand how to use it. Okay, I get that. Well, now those days are over. The days are over. Meaning, if somebody tells you, please cut me something that's 8 feet 2 inches wide, well, guess what? You just pull that out until it says 8 feet 2 on the screen. Boom. Or 8 feet 2 1/4 inches. Boom. You've got confidence that you can do the job yourself. That's what I loved about this product, is that it basically equips you. If you have a weakness in math and a weakness and you can't read tape measures, well, guess what? This takes care of that. So it's really an interesting product. So if you have questions about it, that's what I want to do right now. Just ask me questions about this eTape, and I'm happy to answer them. That's really where we want to go for the next few minutes, because I'm going to be out of here in about 18 minutes. So if you have questions about this eTape16, now's the time to ask them. So let me go here. Let's see what happens. Hey, Jimmy. Nope. Teenagers now can't calculate 1 increments, 1/16. What is that exactly? Well, some can, some can't. But you're exactly right. I don't go to. They don't even let us in grade schools anymore. I mean, who knows what they're being taught? And I don't want to go there politically. It's just that, mathematics is so important, and people need to know how to do fractions. Remember, if you've got a question about these products, about these digital tape measures, now's the time to ask them. Now's the time. All right, here we go. All right, so Josh wants to know, it's not having anything to do about tape measures. Shame on you, Josh. How do you find out if there is natural gas in your property, and what does it take to make it usable in your house? You mean, I want to make sure I understand this. Do you mean like if there's natural gas down in the ground that you can drill and get to? Is that what you're asking me? So answer that, and then I'll let you know. Okay, Will wants to know, is the measuring point at the end of the body or where it comes out? That's a great question, Will. So what happens is, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to lock it. And so let's see. So it's saying, I'll hold it up. It's, if you can see, I hope I'm holding it the right way. Yeah. 3 7/16. So what happens is, if you wanted to measure something that was 3 7, like somebody said, cut me a board that's 3 7/16 long. So what you would do is you would hook this end on the end of the board. You would pull this out, and on the end of the board, right where this black plastic is you would make a mark there. And then you would cut on the, you would cut right on that side. I mean, you'd cut right there, man. So you just cut where the black plastic is. So that's how it's done. Oh, this thing's still remembering the half. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I forgot to turn off the half measurement. So here, see, it's saying 6 7/8. I'm sorry, 6 7/8. And when you look at the tape measure here, I'm going to look at it. It is this part of the tape measure down at the bottom. So this down here, this, I'm going to try to hold it so you can see it. You would slide your pencil along where this black part is, and you're going to be within a 32nd of that measurement. And for this is not, cabinet makers do measure things differently. All right, cabinet makers, that's a different tolerance. But for rough carpentry, or for the things that most homeowners do, this nails it. So that's where you measure, Will. You're looking at that. I'm trying to hold it up. Sorry about that. You're putting your pencil line right where that black plastic is. Great question. Great question. Okay. Oh, hello, Lorraine. Great to see you. Okay. So, Josh has got a great question. This is where my college geology degree comes in. It's such a great question, actually, and we'll spend a little bit of time on it. Once again, I'll just say this because we've got quite a few people here. If you have any questions about the eTAPE16, now's the time to ask them. Now's the time, right now. Any question about how this works, even what it costs, whatever, just ask me questions about this tape measure. And I put a link in. Here's another link. If you want to see photos about this, if you want to you want to see photos, you want to watch a video to see how it works, go right there. Go to that link. I put the review on my website earlier today. All right, Josh's question about natural gas. So, crutch word alert. You do it is you would get a geologic map out. And I happen to know where you're at. I happen to know where you live near Red Rock Gorge and East Central Kentucky. And you would look at what the bedrock geology is. And the bedrock geology, so you'd also have to be a little bit of a student about oil petrology is what we call it. And to know the geology of where you normally find oil deposits. All right. That's kind of changed a little bit because of all the fracking that's going on, because we've gotten new technology over the past 10 years that allows us to get oil out of deeply buried sediments that we normally couldn't get it out of before. You would need to research first what is the geology of the places where they get oil from. And it just happens, a really good friend of mine who's retired now, this is what he did his entire career, but he worked down in East Texas. A lot of sandstone, shale. Sandstone is a really great place where oil is stored underground because of the pores in the sandstone. You then have to look at your geology, your deep geology, to see, does the geology under my property, is it favorable to where natural gas might be? I think what you're going to discover is when you look at a geologic map of where you live, Josh, I'm familiar with the area, it's going to be just limestone and shale. All right. And that's generally not oil producing or natural gas producing. That said, you would then either drive around or you would look to see, are there any active wells in your area? And you could talk to your local fire department. Just say, hey, are there any properties around here in the county that have natural gas drilled wells? And they might say, we've never heard of it. Or they might say, oh yeah, we've got maybe 50 of those things around. You just have to do a little detective work. Then it becomes a matter, if you were to find natural gas, are you allowed to go after it? What's your local zoning, going to let you do? So that's how you do it. That's how I would do it. Okay. So once again, if you have any questions, because we're running out of time, I'm only going to be here about another 11 minutes. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button, really pretty amazing little tape measures. Let me tell you what the let me just kind of go over some of the features because I think you'll like this. So it'll retain the last measurement. In other words, whatever measurement you just took, you just push this button at the top that says hold. It'll remember it. Because maybe you take a measurement of something somewhere and you have to walk over to a saw and you forgot to write it down. Well, it'll remember it. All right. It's got dual memories. It's got 2 memories. All right. So that's really cool. And you can select inside or outside measurement. And what that means is that's just like this. In other words, if you're measuring, like between 2 walls and you were to extend the tape measure out, and I'll lock it so it stays out. So you have 2 ways to measure. You can measure from here to that black thing. Like I said, I'm trying to hold it so you can see it. Or you go, you want the back of the tape measure to be against the other corner of the room. And so it'll automatically add in the distance of the tape measure. So it has that functionality. It can do that. Let's see. It'll do this. Steve would love this. So it'll do both US or metric, for him over in the UK. And as I said, it also does the midpoint, which I think is really important, in case you have to split something. Like, for example, like you go, you come up with, you just have some odd piece of lumber and you go, boy, I just want to cut this in half. I just want to cut it in half. So you pull the tape measure out, you get it to where it's measuring to the end of the lumber. You push and hold that button, boom. And it tells you where the midpoint is instead of you having to do the math and make a mistake. It's pretty interesting. All right, Jimmy, let's see. Jimmy says, I live in New Hampshire, and how many rivets are holding in the 2 rivets? I'll hold them up. So let's see if you can see that in the camera. 2 rivets there. And of course, they're adjusted properly, so a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know. They wonder why the end of the tape measure. I'm trying to hold it steady. I'm trying to hold this so you can see it. The blade moves. A lot of people don't realize it moves just enough. It moves the thickness. It moves the thickness of this blade on purpose, so that when you do an inside measurement, you're not off that 1/16 of an inch. That's why those rivets are not tight. A lot of people don't know that. Josh, thanks for the info. I found an old topo map that showed a gas well on a neighboring property. There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So, you got a clue that there was an old gas well. So you might have them in the county. You just have to look around and see. You might have one. Hello, Louise. Louise, so to be honest, I didn't buy it. I have a link on my webpage where I just put up, I see in the chat, you can see where you can go to see pictures. There's a link to buy it on Amazon. It's about $39. And if you look at all of the digital tape measures, they're all priced around there, around $40. So it's competitively priced. What happens is companies, they will send things to me at no cost to review, and they're taking a big chance, because if it's a piece of crap and I decide to write about it to warn you, then I hurt them horribly. But if it's really good and I think you should get it, then I feature it. Like, for example, this coming Sunday in my newsletter, people are going to see this. They're going to see this tape measure, on Sunday, and good for eTape, good for the people who make it, because they make an innovative product. It seems like it works. The reviews seem to be pretty good about it. If you keep it clean and dry, looks like it's going to work for a long time. It's just, as I said a few minutes ago, what I really, really like about this eTape, it's perfect for the person who has trouble figuring out what all those little lines mean. And not everybody can figure that out. Some people, they have trouble with that. And I understand it. It's not, I have, like, music. All right. It's like music. I can play music by ear, but I've never been able to read music. All right. Now, that doesn't mean I can't be taught how to do it. Just like those people that have trouble reading a tape measure, maybe they've never been taught how to do it. And then what happens as you get older, I mean, this is a really bad thing about getting old. And not all older people are like this, but some are. Many might be. Is that their ego, as you get older, your ego, can get a little smaller and more fragile. So they're afraid, they don't want to show that they're weaker. They don't want to show, they don't want people to think that they're stupid. I mean, have you ever noticed like little kids? I mean, I'm talking little kids, like 3, 4, 5 years old. They don't understand that concept. In other words, if they get something wrong, like they're just shrug their shoulders. Okay, what's the big deal? What? Show me how to do it right. But man, as people get older, woo, holy tomato, man, they don't. Their egos get really fragile. I mean, like fine crystal fragile. So do they rate it for, Will wants to know, do they want to rate it for drop? Do they rate it for drop testing? I don't know. You might want to go to their website and see. Most of the standards now seem to be 6 feet, I think, that they'll test a tool for. I would, that's really a great question. Like, what happens to it if you drop it from 6 feet? I don't know. I don't know. You have to ask them. Let's see. What time is it? I'm running out of time. I got to be out of here in 4 minutes. I cannot believe the time went that quickly. Any last questions about this eTape? Now, remember, there are different versions of it. I mean, look at the top of this. And one of the things that you need to notice, look at the locking button. See the locking button on this one? It's more like a traditional one. I did not like that locking button too much. I found it really hard to operate. In my review on the website, I really like this one. This one I found very easy to do. So if you're going to buy this tape measure, make sure you get this model that has that big locking button. And you notice it's got a different design on the screen. The screen is completely different. This one here, it's more recessed. And it seems to be a brighter LCD display. So there's a big difference in the model. So make sure you read the reviews about particular models. But will you drop it for us? Sure, I will drop it for you. I got a few minutes here. So I will drop it from 6 feet. So it's on, right? I mean, here you can see it's going to work if I turn it on. So it works. So let's drop it. I'm 5'8", so I'll drop it above my head. I just dropped it. And let's see. So yeah, it still works. So it survived the 6 foot drop test here in my cave. So there you go. How far can you? It's a thinner tape. I'm going to say, how far can I extend it? I'm going to bet. Well, let's see. I'll try to test it. That's a great question. So I did it pretty fast. I got it out a little over 6 feet. And I didn't expect it would go too much farther because it's a pretty narrow blade. So, it's not, don't confuse this tape measure with the rough and tough, Stanley Fat Max. It's like comparing a VW Bug that I used to own to to a Pontiac GTO. All right. So don't, if you need a tape that's got a lot of standout, you're not going to get this one. All right. This tape measure, in my opinion, is primarily made for just the weekend homeowner who's doing small projects around the house. He's not building a room addition. He's just measuring things, like 6, 7, 8 feet long, 10 feet long. Because it's only a 16-foot tape measure. It's not a 30-footer, all right? So it's not a rough carpenter's tape measure. Don't confuse that. All right, here we go. Let's see. I'm going to get caught up, and then I got to get out of here. All right. Lorene, you're going to love this tape measure, Lorene. I'm serious. It's really neat. It's a really neat tape measure. Jimmy says, great live today. Work on lasers. I've got all kinds of lasers. I've got so many lasers. Oh my gosh. But see, the laser tool is not, it's not really a homeowner tool. It really isn't. I mean, they have some smaller toy ones. Yeah, I will be having good dinner. Tell us what is the groove on the clip for? Will, I don't see a groove on the clip. I mean, this hole is so that you can get the clip off to get to that Phillips screw. And this circle here is so you can see the logo. So I don't know. Thank you for getting rid of that crappy whatever. You know what? I got to get out of here. Thank you so much. Sorry for the short live stream today. We'll do a long one tomorrow. And I did a test today really quickly with Will. He was kind enough to test Google Meet, which is the equivalent of Zoom. And we had a pretty good time. We had it was a pretty successful test. A couple of really neat features on Google Meet. So we're going to try to make that work. I see what you mean. Well, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because you could hold that on you could hold that little thing on a slot. Yes, you're exactly right. That's exactly what that's for. You're exactly right. I was misinterpreting what you were talking about, but yes. All right, I got to run. I don't want to be late. I got to get out of here. I got to get some things done before I walk at the door. Thank you so much for being here today. Sorry for the short live stream. I'm Tim Carter. It's Ask the Builder. I'll be back tomorrow and we can do it much longer and have a much better time. If you liked the live stream, hit that like button. We need more likes. Lorraine, thanks. You have a good night too. Will, thanks so much. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks, 8-Bit Vinyl. Thank you, Jimmy, Louise, everybody. Thank you. It's hard to get everybody's name in. Thank you so much. Remember, hit that like button. I'll be here tomorrow, the good Lord willing.